The higher self knocked on the door of the soul's sanctuary. A timid and half-hearted response was heard. "Who is it?" The higher self looked around the dark woods with no sign of a single soul. A small ray of sunlight streamed through the top of the branches of the tallest tree. Higher self was standing in front of a pocket-sized treehouse with signs of slight dampness on its roof. "Open up, it's me, your higher self," it responded. With a quiet squeak, the door opened slowly. A woman's head peeks through, with big, sorrowful blue eyes. "May I please come in?" the higher self asked gently. The soul looked around herself in dismay, visibly afraid of something in the woods. She stepped back cautiously and without a word let the higher self in. She felt strange and alienated to see a being of such beauty and grace, surrounded by an array of light, and dressed in glittering silver robe in such a deserted place. Its eyes seemed to radiate unearthly love, lips were relaxed in a gentle smile, and body scented of freshly cut flowers. The house itself looked not much different on the inside to its exterior. Inside there was nothing but a wooden table, a self-made bed and a small dusty window. On the table there was an aluminium cup and a bouquet of forest greens. The soul was dressed in worn-out clothing that had long since lost its original shape. Anxiety, sorrow, fear, and a deep sense of loneliness consumed the soul's consciousness, and she was having a hard time concentrating. Despite all this, she still felt that her guest represented no danger. She sat on the corner of a chair and forwarded a tired gaze at the higher self. "My darling soul," the higher self began, "you must be surprised by my visit. You and I know each other very well. Even more than that, let me try to explain. We are related to one another, and together we form one." In disbelief, the soul looked closely at this divine creature, awaiting further explanation. "I am here because I heard your calling. We often communicate with one another at different ends of the line. Where I come from, I am in a state of infinite harmony and joy, while you being here experience feelings of utter hopelessness, confusion, and loneliness. This is called a state of polarity. When you experience melancholy, your thoughts travel up to where I reside, as in those moments you seek happiness and tranquility, and your prayers invite change into your life. Your heart certainly assists you in this by suggesting where your true happiness lies. When I hear your thoughts and prayers, I send you an impulse of joy in order to balance your state and, more importantly, bring us closer to each other. I am always with you, and you with me. Maybe even just subconsciously, but you remember me as I remember you. There is a universal law, as above, so below, as below, so above. This applies to you and I," the higher self added with a friendly smile. All this seemed strange and confusing. The soul looked deep into the eyes of the higher self, and for a brief second saw a familiar glow, understanding that she had once met this divine, beautiful creature. But where? No, it can't be possible. As long as she remembered, her whole life was spent here in the forest home, isolated from the world and any potential visitors. Nobody and nothing ever visited. Maybe there's a chance I'm forgetting an aspect of my life, which I erased from memory for some particular reason. The soul continued to frantically collect and revise memories, as if they were old clothes from a wardrobe. It makes sense to me that I have appeared here from somewhere else, but how? When? Have I always been living here? Or have I once had another home? And why am I alone here in the forest? The tension made her cheeks turn pink and her eyes to glow with anxious questioning. The higher self responded to the soul's unspoken request. Yes, we have often met in your dreams. Firstly, it is easier for us to communicate when you are being outside of your physical body, with nothing limiting your freedom. You return to your most natural state of being when you dream, which allows you to communicate with me and to your cosmic families. Some time ago you made a decision to leave your existing conditions and take part in a grand experiment. This experiment was to take place in a far-away galaxy located several hundred light years from your home. This was the bravest decision, as there was no guarantee in 100% safety or a promise of return. I'd like to repeat that it is truly a brave decision on your part, as well as several million other souls who also willingly incarnated in physical form. To sign your agreement to the experiment also meant that you are transported to an entirely different reality, where you are not only required to construct a game plan and create the rules, but also to forget that it is just a game. Such conditions create enormous risk, but more importantly they are necessary, as they allow and they lead to creation and activation of important energies, which take place in a human consciousness and character. These energies then play a major role in the overall scheme of oneness and unity of universal existence. To save the experiment's participants from entirely losing themselves in their own illusions, they were infinitely connected with a silver lining to their higher being, their divine others, and lastly the central sun. So when you dream, all these souls, including yourself, combine and connect with the divine. The more the higher self talked and explained, the calmer and more relaxed the soul became. An invisible energy of love, peace and harmony consumed the room and connected the two, creating a feeling of freedom and freshness. Relaxed at last, the soul felt comfortable enough to speak to the higher self for the first time. She quietly asked, "If, as you say, you happen to be part of me, then I guess that makes you know everything about me. Tell me then, how did I end up in this house? I don't remember anything of myself. Prior to your arrival, I've been convinced that I was born here and will always be here, and now I am not so sure. What am I doing here? And why is there nobody and nothing around me? Although I often hear sounds coming from the forest that makes me feel I'm not alone, I don't ever see anybody around." The higher self replied, gently touching the soul's shoulder, "My dear soul, your heart is so sensitive, and a lot of things in this world will cause you pain and seriously hurt you. You have incarnated numerous times, continuously going through experiences that have not always aligned with your true nature. At times, when you weren't able to complete certain created rules, you got burned, and as part of your memory was shut down, thus instinctively avoiding further pain. You tried to protect yourself like a mollusk by closing in your shell, travelling away from your true divine existence and getting lost in the illusion. You struggled to remember your true name and gradually lost the connection with the whole. You began to believe that you are absolutely alone, in this wild forest, in an abandoned hut and worn-out clothing. In reality, you were never alone. Remember the best of your dreams where you laughed, loved, flew, sang, danced and shone with beauty and youth. Your memory fought and battled through the obstacles like a mountain spring, trying to save you from drowning in the illusion. When you sang with your angelic voice, I heard it from above and sent all my love and gentleness to you. Observing your heart filling with happiness, I sent you more joy in return. In those moments we shared a flame of all-consuming unconditional love, which when connected is visible to faraway worlds, and those moments were many. There was always a flame of love in your heart, which grew stronger and bigger, and now, when it is particularly bright and visible in the universe, you and I could finally meet. The soul stared at the higher self, hanging on every word. The soul's face became more beautiful with every minute. Every part of her and her body was reacting to this encounter. Every molecule, feeling and thought. The difference was unrecognizable. Suddenly she remembered one of her old dreams. It was vivid and well stored in her memory. Some of the phrases the soul often recalled. She looked up to the higher self and said, "In one of the dreams I saw myself as a male mollusk. I was having a conversation with something resembling yourself. Was it you? Is this why you compared me to a mollusk earlier?" The higher self disappeared in its thoughts for a minute, but soon lit the room with warm memories of that wonderful feeling of connection with the soul in the dream about the pearl. Higher self spoke. "Throw away the clothing that grew into you. Free yourself from the clothing of fear that grew into your heart. Free yourself from the heavy vest of disappointment and sorrow. Remove the spiky wire of loneliness from your head, which you've constructed by thinking bitter thoughts of the past, which prevent your trust in me. Leave your experience of pain behind, which crucified you. Stand naked before me." The pearl responded, "Without this clothing I feel only as a mollusk which was removed from its shell. Without the shell, the winds of life will blow me away as I make my first step. When I was inside the shell, I was already in pain. Now I remind myself of a mermaid washed up on the rocks after a storm." Higher Self spoke to the pearl with kindness. "Yes, you came out of your shell, but you are no longer the same mollusk. Look at yourself under the pure flow of spring water. Do you see your colors shine under the brightness of the sun's rays?" The pearl asked, "What does that do for me? The winds of life will blow and I will freeze. I will be blown away." Higher Self answered, saying, "You are the pearl, and that is your strength. Your nakedness has released your beauty and invited the higher light in, which will warm you and keep you safe from all the winds, no matter how strong they are. You have drawn me to yourself, so let me carry you through the wave of life. You have seen a lot in your life, but I will show you something new."